There were times when I had wondered how I ought to get back at Tosuke for saying things to me like, "It's not a bike, you should have been riding then." But then, he had gotten me a pretty decent paying one-off part-time position, so it was water under the bridge. Before he started job hunting, Tosuke had put those communication skills of his to full use working as a tutor at a large cram school. I was never the type to make use of cram schools, so I knew little about them. Still, I knew enough to know that a cram school tutor was absolutely the wrong type of job for me, as part of the position of tutor entailed having discussions with high school students. Using his connections there, however, he learned about an opening for a proctor for mock exams, which he shared with me. The pay was good enough that I could overlook his bawdy punchlines. I put on my suit for the first time since job hunting and met up with him in front of the cram school in question early in the morning. After greeting each other, we headed to a room that the receptionist indicated, where we found a number of long tables with a number of suits already sitting at them. So we took our spot in the back. Eventually, as we sat there in silence, a young man showed up and explained the job to us. I'll spare you the details, but it was a simple job, which mostly entailed handling out test forms, watching over the test takers, and collecting the answer sheets at the end. We looked over the materials and were each sent out to our respective classrooms. The room I was in charge of was a long lecture hall that could seat about 100. It no longer contained tables but individual desks. I spent the time waiting for the test taskers to arrive, tidying up the desk into straight rows. The sound of the desk scraping the floor resounded sharply. Finally, the time arrived, and the test takers filed into the classroom. I turned to them and wrote warnings that were written on the front blackboard, confirmed the numbers on the exam stubs, and so on and so forth. Honestly, the students were mostly just reading the blackboard, so no one was listening very closely to what I was saying. Easy peasy. At the appointed time, I handed out the exam forms and announced the start of the test. All I had to do from there was kick back in the folding chair at the front of the room until the test was done without somehow falling asleep, occasionally taking a cursory look around or strolling about the room. After one lap around the classroom, I sat down with a sigh, staring at the tops of the students' lowered heads, all in neat rows. It reminded me of a nest of some kind of creature. Though the studious creatures varied in color and length of their hair, in body shape and clothing, they all made the same basic motions. If one were to assume that we job hunters look the same way to real professionals, then working in HR might have been quite the daunting task. After all, they had to try and pick out a preferred candidate from a pool of people who all, more or less, looked and acted the same. There were resumes and personalities tests, and interviews and group discussions. If, despite them wading through all of that in search of the ideal candidate, someone like me still managed to deceive them, and truly felt sorry for those saps. The front page of the Moai website had featured a list of all the very impressive positions their members had been offered. However, even if their whole mission was to create the ideal candidate, I doubt that their membership attracted those with more aberrant personalities to begin with. Recently, incidental to my harassment campaigns, I have been browsing various Moai-related accounts on social media. All of them, from the leaders to the fringiest of members, were basically mass-produced university students, all desperately trying to hide who they really were, indicating no real interest. What the current Moai taught was nothing more than the means of depersonalization, so that a bunch of mediocre people could survive job hunting. How to flatter and inflate your own image is the direct opposite of becoming your ideal self. Of course, I could not totally disavow what they did. I had done the same myself. Being able to take a stance like that was a crucial part of living in society. However, That was not the original intent of Moai. That was not the organization that one in a lecture hall of 100, had created with her ideals in mind. That was what the Moai we created should have been, a group about finding a way to become a person who would survive while still keeping one's personal philosophies, one's ideals, intact. We never wanted to change ourselves. Even though I knew that, I, the one who had helped found the group and yet abandoned it, had some responsibility to share in this. Thus, it was my responsibility to take it back as well. I would now my voice is dying. I would take us back to the past, even if it meant destroying the present. Speaking of this, I needed to determine how I was going to crush Moai, and I needed to do so as quickly as possible. I could not go on just harassing them forever. I had until graduation. Time was going to slip by me before I had realized. It had been a long time since I was left on my own. But now that there was a deadline, I was sure that time would fly by. It was 25 minutes, only about 70. Yeah. These kids distracted me. So you didn't really miss too much, just 3 pages. Talking about his past with Tosuke, how he got him this like one job or whatever, and then just talking about how he's harassing Moai still, but it's not something that he can do forever, and that there's a deadline coming soon that he'll just do until he graduates and hopefully fix up Moai. That's about it. Oh yeah, hope you're doing well, Lisa. Perhaps I need to broaden my thinking a bit. Thus far, my top goal had been to cease Moai operations, but perhaps I did not need to go all that far. Maybe it would be enough just to diminish confidence in the group until a weekend, or at least just in the oh, I hit the mic, I'm sorry. Maybe it would be enough just to diminish confidence in the group until it was weakened, or at least just in the management. It'd be best to make the current Moai into another group entirely. Then, better yet, create a new group with the true values of Moai at its core. The real Moai needed neither achievements nor acclaim, only ideals, pure and simple, just like it was back then. As I pondered this, mentally lowering the hurdles to the degradation of Moai, the bell rang, signaling the end of the first hour of testing. I collected the answer sheets and informed the students when the next portion would be starting. All the tensions left the air in the classroom in an instant. Some of the students immediately bounding out into the hallway to chat with friends. I couldn't help but think of the days when I sat for mock exams like this. Back then, I believed that something as simple as the results of the university entrance exam could change my entire life. However, that was by no means true. I knew at least that much. Far better than these young hopefuls did. I wondered how they would change in the next few years. How could there possibly be professionals who were so confident in themselves they could prattle on about their own experiences, as though they were valuable, could hold those kind of events? Did they actually feel like they were making a difference to those students somehow? When the second exam period started 15 minutes later, my activities were unchanged. It was best to do as little as possible, so that the test takers could concentrate. I was good at that. That was how I always lived, especially since starting university. I continued my previous train of thought. Perhaps these self-conscious professionals did come because they felt they had something valuable to impart to their juniors. But even if the knowledge they shared was of use, why would they bother wasting their time on people who had so little to do with them? Certainly, I had kohai in my own seminars. I had purposely kept a set distance from them and never once considered going out of my way to make myself useful to them. The only kohai I had who I was close enough to talk about our daily lives together was Kawahara-san, but I would never purposely try to meddle in her affairs. Tosuke did seem to be the type, though. When someone was in trouble, he swooped in to help, especially if that someone was Pon-chan, and I didn't just think that in terms of my joke about him wanting to date Pon-chan. Tosuke really just was an upstanding person, who would always lend a hand to Pon-chan or his other kohai, just as he was helping me. From my perspective, Tosuke and Pon-chan's relationship was a bizarre one. For someone like me, who had no idea how to make friends with a kohai like that, even expecting me to overstep boundaries as far as walking someone home was an absurd idea, even though such a thing would have been simple for Tosuke. As I pondered Tosuke's dating record, the second period came to an end. From there, it was another 15-minute break, and then a third period spent doing largely the same amount of nothing, and then a longer break for lunch. The test takers headed to the cafeteria and nearby convenience stores. While we were provided with bento sets and tea, we sat down in the room we had gathered in that morning, where the bento were set out, and ate. It felt like eating at a gas station. Tosuke arrived a bit after, sitting down beside me. They congratulated each other on our hard work, which really hadn't been all that hard, and nibbled our soggy fried fish. This really takes me back. Watching those kids, all I could think was, man, I never want to take those exams again. Tosuke waxed poetic, while shoveling his much maligned umeboshi into my bento box. Better than job hunting anyway. I'd rather do that. I felt like we ought to take an opinion survey of all job hunters as I ate one of my chew umeboshi. Tosuke gave a sudden as though he had just realized something. That reminds me, the day before yesterday I saw Kawahara-san and Pon eating together in the cafeteria. Well, really? Tosuke was probably only aware that I had given him that response to be polite. In my mind, I was simply glad that the aftershocks of that evening had not created a rift between two certain someones. I'm sure he could read exactly what I was thinking. He grinned, took a sip of tea, and pulled his phone out from his pocket, looked at the screen and then placed it down on the table, muttering, "More spam. Been getting a lot of that lately. You must have signed up to some weird website. I only use the finest of websites, my good sir." Wondering exactly what sort of sites he was talking about, I yanked out my phone and looked at my own inbox. I didn't see any suspicious activity. I checked my social accounts and saw nothing there either. No spam here for an upstanding student like me. Check again, check again. Tosuke presented his phone screen to me. Sure enough, there were a number of messages from various unregistered email addresses. I grabbed his phone and opened some of them to find that these so-called spam messages were in fact invitations to interviews from various job recruiters and notices about upcoming events. Even if such information was of no use to either of us. I've been to these kind of info sessions before. But I haven't, so I've got no idea how they have my address. Could someone possibly be selling an upstanding student's information on the black market? Hey Olivia, hope you're doing well. Putting aside whether you are upstanding or not, they do know the name of your school. Surely enough, we had reaped the benefits of our academic backgrounds. Wonder how much my email address goes for. I mean, I'm sure they don't sell them individually. They probably have some registry of student information or something. I tilted my head as I realized what I was saying. Something had struck a chord with me. It was as if my temples were prickling. What was going on? It felt as though I had just recalled something from the past. Like I was just trying to find an itch to grass. To grass? Like I was trying to find an itch to scratch. I ignored Tosuke's "what's up?" so that I would not lose track of this image, thinking back to recent events. When I walked my mental steps backwards, I found it. It was right there, in my grasp. Tosuke, when do you start getting those spam messages? 3? Maybe 4 weeks ago? When? More specifically. Curiously, Tosuke swiped on his phone and then showed me a number of subject lines. I think sometime around here. I compared the date against the calendar hanging in the front of the room. It was exactly as I had suspected. This was the week after that weekend of the barbecue we went to with 10. That's true, but there had to have been some trigger for this increase in junk mail, right? What? You don't? Tosuke, savvy as ever, seemed to understand what I was trying to say. If what I was supposing was correct, if it was true, could this be the decisive blow? Just a minute, I interrupted Tosuke, who seemed like he wanted to say something. I pulled out my own phone and logged into one of my burner email accounts. After a few moments of loading, my inbox appeared on the screen. I felt goosebumps rise on my skin. Nailed it. I showed Tosuke the screen. There listed were a number of emails, just like the ones Tosuke had been getting. The contents were probably the same as well. It's having a brain blast, yeah. Also, because I'm speaking a bit more quieter this time around, I'm a bit more cautious or a bit more aware of my voice, and I'm speaking a bit slower. I know, like the past few streams, I'd like read really fast. Do you prefer me reading fast or like this speed right now? In other words, I start to speak, gulping. 10 must be making money off of giving out the registry. How can you tell? This email's burner. Tosuke furrowed his brow. I explained. It's a free account I signed up for, separate from my normal one. I always use burner accounts when I need to give out my email to someone I don't trust so my real information doesn't get misused. I'm assuming you made a business address while you were job hunting? No, I just use the same one for everything. Seriously? You must get a lot of mail then. I do. That's why the spam is bugging me so much. I found it surprising for someone as conscientious as Tosuke. Was he some kind of secret Luddite when it came to technology? If so, then this was likely something he was unaware of. I'm not sure, but I think it sounds better today. That's probably because I also tweaked my microphone a little. But yeah, when I speak fast, sometimes I'm like, man, I can't even understand myself sometimes. Is it more clear today? Is that still Olivia? Here, let me read the last paragraph again in like my voice last week. It's a free account I signed up for, separate from my normal one. I always use burner accounts when I need to give out my email to someone I don't trust so my real information doesn't get misused. I'm assuming you made a business address while you were job hunting? No, I just use the same one for everything. Seriously? You must get a lot of mail then. I do. That's why the spam is bugging me so much. I found it surprising for someone so conscientious as Tosuke. Was he some kind of secret Luddite when it came to technology? If so, then this was likely something he was unaware of. The source use waiver? Oh, okay, yeah, then I'll use the slow one. Cause I did use my faster speed when I first started reading, or when I started resuming the reading streams with this book, because I wanted to get the 150 pages or the 100 pages over with, because I already read it like 2 times already, and then I guess it stuck with me. But now that I'm speaking, quieter, I'm just more aware of it. Oh yeah, the dialogue, yeah, I kind of just go whatever. I keep hitting man, the mic is closer to me today too, so. Read very fast and toned. Very fast read is how my eyes read. Like hearing it slower sounds more relaxing. That is very understandable. Because when I read fast, that's also how fast I'm reading, kind of, so. But when I read slow, I could definitely take in better information. I'll stick with the speed that I've been doing. Yeah, whatever, Estelle. Go back to sleep. Alright. Cracking my fingers for getting back to it. Well, anyway, this burner account is one that I just made and started using recently, which means what? It's odd that even though I only gave this address to 10, I'm getting all these emails from businesses. True, That means it's not just going to Moai members, but us too. I'm sure they're just filtering out information for students who attend our school and sending them out to businesses indiscriminately or something. I think he slipped up, just like you did with handling your email address when you're usually so diligent about things. As I spoke, I gave a shudder. I thought to myself, finally, here it was. Depending on what we did with this information, this could be a means of weakening Moai. At the very least, we could drag 10 down. Wait. Yo, if Fate is still here, there's still a chance. 10 could still be a villain. The worst person they could think of. There's still a chance. Yeah, whatever, Estelle. And perhaps if we were lucky, this might even extend into the upper ranks. In an era where personal information was such a large talking point, surely we could make an appeal to people's morals. Still going after him? Honestly, if they go after him and it still turns out that it was an honest mistake or it's not even Ten's fault, I'm gonna feel so bad. Then I think I have an idea. Then that's definitely where the story is going. That the main character and them are like the baddies, I guess, or the wacky people. And that said, I still wanted more concrete evidence. I had no proof that Ten was the only one I had given this burner out to, so that wouldn't be particularly damaging. Wasn't there something else I could find? Ideally, I'd like to actually find this registrar that Ten and his crew are probably giving out to companies. I have no idea how we go about that. And I doubt he just give it to us. And I can't imagine Kawahara-san or Ponchan having it either. Guess we'll just have to sneak into the higher-ups' houses, huh? Obviously, I laughed. Wait, there's no way. He has no proof, Luffy? His assumptions are very well-grounded. They are educated guesses. Wonder 10 is the most horrible person ever. Don't get me started. And actually, do not get me started, because I wouldn't know how to start it. We pondered this for the rest of our lunch break, but could not come up with anything, agreeing to consider the matter during the mock exams as we both headed back to work. I waited in the classroom until the test takers finally arrived, taking their seats with aplomb? I've never seen this word before. Taking their seats with aplomb? Naturally, I kept my cool as I hand out the test forms, but my mind was churning furiously. Finally, I had a weapon. What we did next would be vital. We now knew a crucial fact. We held a deadly weapon. They're gonna get disappointed again, aren't they? Now, how could I best strike the enemy with it in order to cause maximum damage? There was no time to waste. Now that they had gone and slept up, I had to drive my wedge into that chink and burst the damn... I know what chink means, but I haven't heard it in so long or used in this context that it was that. Oh wait, that was jarring. What the heck? I haven't heard the word chink in this context in so long. Self-confidence or assurance, especially when in the demands. Oh, thanks, Wonder. I can always rely on you. Unlike someone. Sounds so bad. Why am I laughing? You're sick, Fade. I sat in the chair in the front of the room, my thoughts racing. However, the more frantic I got, the more my thoughts just kept circling back to the same place. In the end, I got nowhere. I forgot to even keep watch on the classroom. Shoot, I'm still reading this. I just imagine it's the other context and it's so bad. Yeah. I know what chink means in that context as well, but I just never, it's been so long since I heard it used in that context. I totally almost forgot. Shiki, go to sleep. Get out of here. You're banned. Where were we? However, just being in the same room as these young people was not enough to give me the result I needed. Plus, wait. No, I skipped a lot. In the end, I got nowhere. I forgot to even keep watch on the classroom. Before I knew it, the 4th period was over. Fade your Bantu. Next period would be the last one. In this classroom, the air was permeated with the test takers' efforts and their will to make their last stand. I would have to make my last stand as well and work my brain overtime. However, just being in the same room as these young people was not enough to give me the results I needed. Plus, my thoughts were clouded by my own jubilation. Perhaps finally, after so long, it had returned to me. My joy was getting in the way of my own composure. As I circled around and around the same points, my centrifugal. I've heard this word so many times in physics class, but I don't remember how to pronounce it. Centrifugal force, almost reaching its limits. For a moment, it felt as though something sparked, and I was drawn back down to the purest form of a plan again. Estelle, get out. Would any more YM members give me the registry? Would one of the companies give me the registry? But then I realized again how absurd that was. What's most important is that everyone is... Oh, I keep hitting the mic. What's most important is that everyone is happy. It's the simplest things that are always the most important and impactful. Just as I was about to circle back to square one again, I heard her voice. It had been years since I last heard it, but there it was, as clear as day. A voice that could not in fact make everyone happy and did not exist in Moai now. And this is centrifugal force. Centrifugal force. Centrifugal. I'm hitting up Google BRB. That's what you meant by emphasis on trip. I was like, there's no way it's like that. Centrifugal. I never heard it pronounced like that. What the? Or maybe it is, I'm just trolling. Estelle, if you want to know context about that, I can tell you about it later. Centrifugal. Goes to the British version? Was my teacher British? My teacher wasn't British, but they pronounced it like that. I stopped in place. I just had to get the register. I thought back to the day of the meetup, when I had waited outside. And well before that, on the day of my final interview. What I had witnessed in the elevator lobby. Then, I thought, are professionals really all that impressive? I don't know how to say it properly. I mean, I would just copy how my teacher said it, but I totally forgot. There was little difference in age between us and someone who had been working for only a few years. Oh yeah, but Estelle, if you don't remind me to explain it to you, then I will never say it to you because I don't want to explain it. Just as there was no immense, because it's a horrible. It's really weird. You know what? Just forget it, Estelle. Just as there was no immense gap between myself and the students who are taking their mock exams right now, I could not imagine any working professional being much more experienced and talented than we were. Leave me alone. I mean, such people probably did exist. But most people had only scammed their way into a job by creating a false self, just like I had. Yeah, and that's normal, right? Trying to sell yourself, and making yourself more than what you really are to beat out the others in the job pool or in the applicant pool. Wait, Estelle, have you watched Parasite? Or have you finished it? By that token, were there not professionals who made missteps as well? Just like Ten, who had let us on a very important clue. Just as I currently held contempt for those in the corporate world, there was a strong possibility that there were those among their numbers who held contempt for the students who were coming up along the same path that they were. Oh, you finished? Oh, I see. A singular idea came to mind. It was a sort of sham of an idea that I was ashamed to even call an idea. But I didn't think I was going to be able to come up with anything else. If Tosuke could not come up with anything better, I thought this would do well enough. Estelle, please. Before I realized it, the time had flown by. The 5th period ended more swiftly than all those preceding. After giving the students a heads up on exams they would be sitting for tomorrow, I released them. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, but it's not happening, so... Okay, I'm not sneezing, but it felt like I was gonna sneeze. After that, I finished up my work, met up with the others again in the same room as that morning, confirmed the plans for tomorrow, and then we were dismissed for the day ourselves. Bless you, whatever. I immediately invited Tosuke to a nearby cafe. You're so say wonder. Alright, get out. You know what? I need to focus reading. I immediately invite Tosuke to a nearby cafe. I picked as secluded a seat as possible, ordered an iced coffee, and launched into the conversation. You come with anything, Tosuke? Tosuke grimaced and said, well, I tried, shaking his head. It was pretty tough. How about you? Well, I came up with one idea. Just as I was about to start outlining my thoughts, our drinks arrived and I shut my mouth. I put my lips right on the glass of iced coffee that was set before me. Eschewing a straw. I mean, it's pretty stupid though. Come on, let's hear it. Let's ask one of the companies that sent out the spam. What I liked the most about Tosuke was how easy he was to read. But here what I saw was a very easily readable look of criticism, which was accompanied by, come again? Sorry, I don't catch your drift. I mean, I told you it was stupid. I've thought about it though. I punctuated my next words carefully in order to make them as easy as possible to understand. I thought there must be some idiot professionals, right? Like, if we give Hiro's name or Ten's name, and gave our contact info, and told them, oh, we've taken over the register now, then someone might actually be stupid enough to give us the register instead. You really think there's anyone that stupid? No idea. However, I took out my phone and showed him the inbox on my burner account. This is our only lead. There, on the screen, was a whole list of emails that very kindly provided me with their company names and the names of their HR people, and their contact information. Of course, they're all more capable than I take them for, and maybe they all have strong crisis management skills. And no one will actually take us up on that. Only if we're being optimistic. Exactly, I thought. But anyway, I think this is a pretty realistic approach. I'm gonna make some burner accounts and give it a shot, but you in? If I write up all the contents of the email and everything, will you come with me to a net cafe or something and just help me send them out? I looked Tosuke in the eye as I made this impassioned plea. He averted his eyes a moment, and then looked back at me. Alright, you are the commander after all. I was relieved to have my friend's assent, as well as some direction for the time being. It was fine if we didn't have a real path, as long as we had a destination. Oh, and as a token of my appreciation, I won't tell Ponchan that you're into her. Yeah, just please don't. Ain't no way. How curious it was just then that it seemed like Tosuke had something caught in his throat. As a gift, I won't expose you, is what he said. Regarding what happened next, I think it will speed things along if I just start from the end. In summary, there was an idiot present. Shockingly, even to me, one of the HR people I had sent messages to politely respond to me the very next day. I used the wrong emphasis, hold up. So shockingly, even to me, one of the HR people I had sent messages to politely responded to me the very next day. My email to them had informed them that I had been newly appointed as the directory manager and was checking in on the present state of things. Asking them to provide their current version of the register so that I could confirm everything. This HR person replied that they were using the latest version of the register as posted to a file sharing service. They were even so kind as to include a URL. And the very next day you go, what the? The moment I got the email, I called Tosuke. Tomorrow, we would meet at his place and formulate the next step of our plan. Sure, anytime tomorrow's fine. Trash pickup is tomorrow, so I'll be up early. I'll pop by at some time then. Wait, I'll pop by at some point then. Sure thing. It was around noon when I rang a rather nonchalant-seeming Tosuke. I ate some convenience store noodles with shirasu as I chatted on the phone with him. My heart was smoldering with intensity. I had not yet accessed the URL that had been provided, not wanting to be traced. When I went to work that afternoon, I found that Kawahara-san and I were sharing a shift again. It seemed she had continued attending Moai meetings frequently since that fateful evening, and I could not help but smile as I greeted her, the corners of her own mouth far more upturned than before when she saw me. Something good happened to you, Tabata-san? Huh? Oh, I found a silver angel in my chocoball. Whoa, seriously? Little else transpired during our shift beyond that conversational misdirection. I'm sorry, I was like mid-direction, and I just thought one direction? More like mid-direction. I'm sorry. As always, Kawahara-san was waiting outside in the parking lot to greet me. We said our farewells and I headed home. One Direction songs are fire. I munched a convenience store bento as I sat down at my computer, checking through my various burner emails, when I found yet another sincere reply from an HR rep. Idiot, I muttered toward my LCD screen, but of course the screen gave no response. He's toxic, what the heck? SNOs? Flipping spicy, those things? Let me search up. Oh, they look familiar. I don't think I've had them before, I never bought them. For some reason that night, I had a dream about Pon-chan and Kawahara-san. The fact that I had such an odd dream meant that I was not sleeping well. I always felt a bit off on such mornings. There was not much that I could do about something that I had only dreamt, so I pushed through the off feeling to change my clothes and eat a pastry and lazily check my social media, finally leaving the house around 10. The sun was harsher today than I expected, so I abandoned the idea of riding my bike, instead detouring to the subway station. I appreciate being able to bypass several kilometers of travel just by riding in an air-conditioned box for a few minutes, avoiding ending up drenched in sweat. I climbed the stairs back to the outside to find that the sun was still just as it had been several stations ago. Bitter about the distance that still remained between here and Tosuke's building, but eventually I lacked the financial means to demand that roofs be installed over every sidewalk in the area, so I would just have to bear with it. I resigned myself to walking in the blazing sun. I had not walked along this road since the night I walked Kawahara-san home. That evening, when I returned to collect my things, Pon-chan was still there. I wondered what the two of them had talked about while I was not around. When I showed up, they were just worried about Kawahara-san. This shit is making me hungry and this... Oh right. These are the mochis that I've been eating. Fruity boba mochi passion fruit. Tropical. Yeah, I love these. Leave me alone. Can you give me some? No. You're also making me hungry? What the heck? Sorry. Okay, where were we? After a brief walk, I came upon the same family mart that I had previously used as a save point. I stopped in again, picking up a bottle of tea to prevent myself from getting heat stroke, along with 2 canned coffees and 2 bags of snacks. I put in my chip card to pay, took my items, and stepped back outside. Just as I started heading toward Tosuke's place, still cursing the sun, I halted. Gimme? No, it's all mine. On the opposite side of the roadway, Pon-chan was walking along the sidewalk, from the opposite direction from the station. She was looking at her phone and did not notice me. What was she doing in a place like this? I thought she lived near a station that would require her to make a transfer to even end up around here. As I wondered whether I ought to call to her, Pon-chan continued toward the station. Perhaps because she was sweating. While my mouth can't get chilling? You 50% chance, Estelle, 50% chance. Somehow her makeup did not look as put together as usual. Of course, there was no need for me to share that impression with her, so I quit watching her retreating form and returned to heading toward Tosuke's place. By the time I arrived at Tosuke's apartment, which was rather upscale for a student, sweat was dripping down my back. Even just stepping into the shade of the entrance was enough to cool me down immensely. I climbed a number of stairs up to Tosuke's abode, which I had not visited in several days. I rang the intercom, hearing a noise from inside, followed by several seconds of apparently frantic activity. The door lock clacked open and Tosuke appeared, wearing only his underpants and a towel around his neck. You're early. You're in the middle of something? Nah, I'm good. I followed him into the apartment. I removed my shoes and trailed after his naked back into the living room. I'm sorry, naked back was just out of nowhere. I had been in this room many times before, but somehow it felt different. There was a faint sweet fragrance of something that was not soap or food. It occurred to me that several pieces of information I had acquired today were all fitting together, and a sound slipped from my mouth. I don't know how it sounded to Tosuke, but he looked at my face. There's no way. I'm not reading chat. I'm Kaide, I. It's cool, I interrupted. These sort of things happen sometimes. Tosuke Winston said, well, guess so. Sort of like that. I borrowed the restroom to wash my hands, finding an empty contact case in the corner, something that Tosuke, with his perfect vision, had no need for. Hold up. I'm just making sure I'm reading this right. What? Is it a good thing? Or a bad thing? I think we just need to continue reading. Is it aware or... How did she look? She said not look as put together as usual. But like... These sort of things happen sometimes? I think they did the thing. But I think it might be really bad because... Unless, I don't know her situation, I don't know if she's still in a relationship, it's technically cheating. I mean, it's not technically, it is absolutely cheating. But if they already broke it off, then whatever. Because they did mention that, you know, their relationship wasn't going well in the first place. Hey Brooke, hope we're doing well. Cheese one. I'm gonna read up chat. Okay. Well, we'll see where it goes. As for someone already. It's so messed up. Like, even your relationship is not going well, you can't just cheat. Just call it off. Talk it out with someone. Or talk it out with your partner first. Say that, hey, this is not gonna work. But I can't assume anything yet, because I haven't finished, or I don't know the full context. But that's crazy. Facts? Okay, Shiki, you know, communication is key? Yeah, whatever. My love for Yoni is better than yours. I'm kidding. I don't know why cowards are automated. Okay. No, that makes sense though, but it sucks. Communication is so important. Now that I know it's fake, yeah, you're right. I don't think I have a single Yoni skin. That's awesome. That was also auto-modded. I'm not sure why Cowards is auto-modded, actually. Alright. Where were we? I really should have teased him, but there was no time for that today. I returned to the room and informed him of the snacks and coffee I had bought. Tosuke, now in shorts and a t-shirt, brought me some chilled juice instead. It felt like we were two friends settling in to play video games on our summer vacation. But in fact, this was where our real battle began. Yo, I'm sorry I'm so sidetracked right now, but that's so nostalgic. Like going to a friend's house over break to play video games or board games or card games or whatever in their house. Nowadays we just play games online. Like we don't need to go over to each other's house, but the memories of actually having to go to their house to play games locally is such a vibe. I want to look at that URL on a computer. Can I borrow yours? Still haven't pulled it up. I figured we looked at it together. Tosuke booted his computer that was sitting on the desk, while I cracked open a canned coffee. After a few moments of waiting in silence, we heard the familiar Windows boot sound. All yours, he said. As directed, I sat down in a chair that had probably come from Nitori and loaded up one of my fresh new burner accounts. This account, incidentally, I crafted under guise of a brainy third-year university girl. I still can't believe this actually worked, Tosuke said, peeking over my shoulder. Turns out we don't have childhood? I see. I miss playing board games. That's all I want to do more this year. People laugh, people pump, people giggle. Oh, that's unfortunate, Olivia. But I mean, hey, maybe it's overrated. Maybe it's fine. Me neither. I feel bad for anyone who joins these companies. I hovered the cursor over the URL I had received from the idiot HR rep. Man, stop roasting the dude. Then, I clicked, my mind prickling with a sudden fear that this might somehow be a trap. Visiting guys' places? Same with girls, like, because I was so popular back then. Whew. Naturally, it was not a trap, but what I found was still a bit different from what I had imagined. Oh man, seriously? I griped. What's up? Needs a password, but can't view the register without it. Of course, stupid as that HR person was, at least they were not stupid enough to hand over the key to the final lock, I thought calmly, though I was panicking slightly at the unexpected complication. I'd imagined this would simply be a matter of opening up the webpage, downloading the register, and then discussing with Tosuke how to disseminate it. Oh, the Japanese furniture home? Oh, that's cool. Thank you, Wander. Code breaking, huh? We're like spies. Oh, sorry. Guess we have to crack it. Code breaking, huh? We're like spies, he laughed. But there was no laughing matter. If we took too long, one of those HR people would probably contact someone from Moai to confirm things, and they would change the storage location. We had to figure this out before that happened. Passwords. What sort of theme do you think it'd have? Well, when we had these sort of things in seminars, it'd be phrases that were popular at that time. I'd have no idea about that then. I tried entering their honcho's nickname, Hero. But I hesitated to click, wondering if there's a limit to the number of login attempts. There's no shot they can guess the password. That's insane. I guess she was afraid of having, but like, we were all just kids. Nerds, all we do is play cards and Lego. I mean, you've seen like rom-coms, like movies and all that stuff. Y'all can go wild, and kids can be wild sometimes, especially now. Tosuke, do you use this site in your seminars? Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about it though. Is there a limit to login attempts? Don't think so. One time I forgot my password and had to try re-entering it a bunch of times. This was good news. Turns out Tosuke's information mismanagement had come in handy. Relieved, I hit the enter key, but sadly no dice. Next I tried entering the name of our university, at which point I learned that there was an 8-character limit. That also was not it. I think we've got a long road ahead of us here. Well, let's take our time. The register isn't going anywhere. It actually might, I wanted to say, but there was no real reason to make him understand that. So I kept my mouth shut. Instead, I asked a more vital question. Ask what? What do you mean that's cringe? To be fair, I never visited I never visited a girl's house before, so... Well, not someone that was around my age, at least. It actually might, I want to say. But, or not someone that was around my age that... we went there for, you know, or for fun. To hang out. But with that being the reason. 8-character limit. If it's not some well-known phrase, what do you think they'd use as a password? Maybe it's not something related to Moai. I mean, if not, then the possibilities are endless. As it should be. Why should it be something so obvious? Maybe some kind of catchphrase? Though I was sure it wouldn't be correct, I tried entering Riso, ideals. Of course, it was wrong. From there, I tried entering every Moai-related term I could think of, but I made exactly 0 headway on breaching the registered authentication wall. Maybe it was impossible to do this just by brute force. We would probably have to wait until someone showed up who was stupid enough to give us the password. But did we have that kind of time? What to do? I know there was no point getting worked up now. I stood up from the chair for a moment, crackling open the other canned coffee I had purchased. It was already pretty lukewarm, but I could feel the sweetness stoking my brain. While I took my break, Tosuke took a turn entering any passwords he could think of. But of course, the gates were not going to open for us that easily. I sat down on the floor, thinking a password for Moai. I realized it was important to consider who would have come up with it. If it was 10, then we were more or less done for. I had no way of understanding the principles of a guy like that. It was someone else though, someone much higher up. Still sitting, Tosuke gave a big stretch. I wonder whether it is something related to Moai. If it is, I feel like you're the only one of us who can solve it. Do you think they will use a date as the password? Oh, you got something? June 21st. I worry that I might be letting too much hope creep into my voice. Before asking me what those numbers meant, Tosuke entered them. I watched the fingers as he pressed the enter key. The clicking sound sounded disproportionately loud. Oh my god, I hate this word. Doesn't look like it. I'll get wrecked. I was rattled with disappointment as the incorrect password error message appeared on the screen for the umpteenth time, letting us know that yet again we had failed. So what's with the numbers? The anniversary of Moai's founding? Well, you've got a good memory. Oh, then, how about this? He asked, once more entering English characters into the field. Moai 0621. Again, he struck the enter key. There's no shot that worked. Yeah, whatever. Oh, he gasped, surprise behind him. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I gasped in air, swallowing spit along with it. The login screen we saw on this monitor was now different from all the times before. There's a list of file names with one among them reading corporate share register. Without saying anything, Tosuke hovered over the file and clicked. What popped up was an Excel spreadsheet full of students' contact information. That actually worked. Yeah, have a good one, bro. Kaede, you're amazing, he said to me. Turning around, I had no words to offer him in reply. Partly as I was not accustomed to being praised, and partly because I did not think it was all that amazing to remember the founding date of the organization I helped found. However, that was beside the point. I was overcome by a different feeling. I mean, I didn't actually expect that to work. I see. It was something like joy, but only something like it. In other words, it was not actually joy. I don't know that Japanese even possesses a word I could use to describe that feeling, but it was perhaps one that I had felt before, a bit on a smaller scale. When would I have felt something like this? Somewhere between the joy that some inkling of our will was still intact and the bewilderment of confirmation that Moai as an organization would be cooperating in this illicit corporate acts. Why is it so long? I'll read that normally. When would I have felt something like this? Somewhere between the joy that some inkling of our will was still intact and the bewilderment of confirmation that Moai as an organization would be cooperating in these illicit corporate acts. Bro. Take care. When? Was it when Akiyoshi had run after me after class that day? No, I doubt it. What I felt then was only shock and confusion. So then, when did I feel this feeling? Oh, there's you, Kaede. This was not the time to be sorting out my feelings. I peeked at the screen, and sure enough, there was a row of the spreadsheet with my name, department, and contact information. Save this. I directed Tosuke, and a file labeled Corporate Shared Register for Resistance appeared on his desktop. The evidence was now secure. So, what do we do with this? Asked Tosuke, dying to take action. I looked at him and told him what I had been thinking. We post this up online, along with the email from that HR rep. I think if we get this up on some message boards and Twitter, the school will probably start getting some angry calls, which should deal a blow to Moai. Right, I see, he said curtly, the tone of his voice dropping, though he had been the one to ask the question. I wondered what was up. Perhaps we might have been stricken by the fact that our final battle was on the horizon. I tried not to search for too deep of a meaning in it. Still, Tosuke breathed in deep, and then sighed. He clearly had something on his mind. Hey, Kaede? What? Maybe it's a bit late for me to be saying this, but I've been thinking, mind if I... He started, not looking at me. I couldn't imagine what he would have to say at a time like this. Sure. What is it? Tosuke looked back at me with a smile that said so many things he could no longer hold back. For an instant, the prickling sound seemed to halt even time itself in its tracks. Don't you think it's about time to stop? What? The sweet scent in the room had long since vanished. And we're gonna end stream here. I'm kidding. I'm just gonna take a small break, like 5 minutes. Near the end of our freshman year, when I went to the cafeteria, I would sometimes catch Akiyoshi and Wakisaka eating together. I tried my best not to be spotted, but occasionally one or the other would see me. I would wave if it was Akiyoshi or bow if it was Wakisaka, then sit down in some spot away from them and eat alone. Yeah, have a good one, bro. Yep, have a good one, bro. Yep, have a good one, Estelle. Actually, no, you don't get to have a good one. Go away, Estelle. Looking back, I had achieved my initial goal from the time I first enrolled at the university. Setting out for a quiet university life. Moai had continued to grow in size and was now a full-fledged organization. Though it wasn't the sort of meetups they had now. We were borrowing large lecture halls for gatherings, and thanks to alumni connections, we were able to invite professional guests to give special lectures. I only participated in our weekly meetings, which I had only done because Akiyoshi told me to. Akiyoshi was busy with Moai and her studies and love. I, on the other hand, was just taking my classes and working part-time, and meeting Tosuke, who I did not yet know would become a friend, all in a perfectly average fashion. There was no reason that the circles we both moved in would overlap. It had already been weeks since the two of us had spent time with only one another. Even during the later part of the class where I had first seen Akiyoshi, we now had other acquaintances sitting around us. By that time, we no longer sat next to one another. Dang, I thought you were messed up. As her friend, it made me a bit sad, but I was living my university life my way, so it would have been downright boorish for me to criticize the way she was living hers. You should tell people what you're thinking, people other than Akiyoshi had many times told me. Including teachers who were helping out with Moai, and unrelated alumni. None of them knew the philosophies by which I lived my life. However, arguing with them that they had no idea what they were talking about, oh, this guy's edgy. I mean, I already knew that though, would be in direct violation of one of those philosophies, never rebutting the opinions of others, and so I would just give a weak smile and let it go. Wakisaka hardly ever spoke to me. He even passively observed the Moai that we had grown into its current form, the human embodiment of resignation. Sometimes we shared small talk, but unlike Akiyoshi, Wakisaka never got particularly close with boring old me. The days passed by without any major changes. Back then, I'm sure that Akiyoshi could never have imagined such a boring, unchanging university life. I could even tell from the outside of that her life was hectic and full of excitement. I never thought of this as good or bad. But eventually, those changes in her life had an effect on her as well. That day, as usual, I had attended our once-a-week meeting. I had no particular opinions to share, only attending so that I could listen to the lively discussions about upcoming activities. So I always chose a seat as far back in the corner as possible. That day, I was sitting in the second seat from the back, by the window, just as I had been the day when I first met Akiyoshi. Whoa, that was a weird inhale. Sorry about that. It was like a burp and an inhale at the same time. I had no idea why Akiyoshi thought that my presence was necessary at these meetings. But I had never asked her either. I cared just as much about the discussion that was going on. However, there was one phrase from within the chatter that I did hear clearly that I can still hear even now. I believe that at some point during the talking, someone had made a comment to Akiyoshi, something along the lines of, "Oh, this is what I want to do. This is the course I like to take." Akiyoshi had then made a sound, as though she was thinking, looked over this someone's resume, and said to them, admonishing, "I understand, but I don't think that's realistic." I was sure my ears were playing tricks on me. Whatever the intention behind those words, I could not believe that they were coming out of Akiyoshi's mouth. Realistic. I turned the words over in my head, but no meaning came tumbling out. Here at Moai, a group we had formed in order to seize our ideals. Someone had presented their ideals and how to pursue them, and Akiyoshi had dragged out realistic as the hammer with which to smack it down. I could not believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Hadn't we come this far together, believing in nothing more than our ideals? I kept watching her, hoping she might make some amendment to her statement. However, for the rest of the meeting, she did not look my way. This was the last time I attended our weekly meetings. Yo, if this was the reason why... I keep forgetting the main character's name. Kaide, the main character, treats Akiyoshi as a dead person. then that is just crazy. Man, giving Ryuki vibes right now. Surely not, though. Like, imagine like you know how like in my background, I had like these like PNGs or pixel art of like streamers that I used to be affiliated with, or like I used to talk to, or used to show up. And then you're like, hey, this dude doesn't show up anymore. What's up with that? I'm like, yeah, they're no longer in this world. When they're just like streaming on their own elsewhere or something, like YouTube or Kick or something. But that's how I reacted. That's so cringe. Don't cry. That's so cringe. You know what, Wonder? You're no longer in this world anymore, Wonder. Goodbye, ban. I was sure my ears were still playing tricks on me at Tosuke's proposal. Alright, we're back to here. About time? Yeah, I mean, I think it's time to quit. Why? He grumbled and spun his chair around to face me. I've been thinking about this for a bit now, Kaede, but are you sure it's really the best idea to destroy Moai? We've been working on that very goal for months, so yes. I do, I immediately replied. Tosuke made a troubled face, the sort of face that indicated how he was only humoring me. That may be true, and I know I've gone along with this, but... Spit it out. No, I mean, I really do understand how you feel, Kaede. Normally, very even-tempered, Tosuke was really making a spectacle of himself here. Someone's altered something that you made, and I get that you're angry about that, but like, when you think about what those guys are doing right now, it makes you wonder if it's really something that needs crushing. I'm just wondering whether you might come to regret it. I would not. And first off, just what about it would he understand? What part of my feelings could he possibly understand? I would never have come this far if this was something I would regret. I never thought that he would say something like this to me now after everything. Nor that he would possibly try to look out for those Moai guys. I tried to imagine why. Let me guess. Did Ten put you up to this? Obviously not. Or well, maybe in some way, I guess. We still hang out sometimes, but seriously, he really is a great guy. Though I mean, this register thing is seriously pretty bad. Right? So obviously we have to destroy them. We have to destroy them. I'm sorry. Right? So obviously we have to destroy them. We never did this. The two of us, full of our ideals, had never done anything this bad. Even if I were in the position Ten was in right now, I would have never allowed this to happen. Wander, don't talk. You're banned from talking from now on. So, what? You joining up with them? No, it's just, when I saw that careless email we got from that HR guy, I started thinking. Thinking what? Even I might do something like this, like Ten or that guy. Maybe they just got carried away or didn't realize they were doing something wrong or something like that. There must be some other way to make them understand this. Even if we don't get rid of the current Moai, there must be people who have made that place their home, like you once did. That's what I thought after I went to that meetup party and saw the way Kawahara-san was at our takoyaki party. I was dumbfounded. Like hell they didn't know what they're doing. Look at this spreadsheet. They're giving out people's personal information. For money. Wait, is this still in quotations? Yes, it is. For money. Or to solidify the ties between Moai and these companies. Or something. In other words, they're using us as a bargaining chip to further their own goals. There's no other way to spin this. That was right. And even if it wasn't, what did people like Ten, people who had no respect for people's boundaries and would tromp all over them, think about people like us? I'm sure you noticed it at the barbecue. I recall the movements of their lips, how little they care about belittling others. They're making fun of us. But they aren't. I was taken aback at the speed of this reply. Tosuke stared back at me. We're making fun of them, too. It finally occurred to me recently. We've been making fun of them, putting all these labels on them, saying that they're shallow and annoying. And it's true. There's a lot of things that I hate about people like that, but that's not fair. We aren't all that different from them ourselves, he ranted, trying to appeal to me. Perhaps because I fell silent for some moment, he averted his eyes, startled. Sorry, I'm not trying to lecture you, Kaede. Has that shallowness of theirs rubbed off on you? Is that why you put your hands on your kohai? Oh god. Why do you have to say that? He did not appear to catch my meaning at first. God damn it. He did not appear to catch my meaning at first. After he mulled it over for a bit, his brows furrowed and he let out a quiet sigh. That's not it. Didn't you tell me that you weren't going after her? Well, yeah, that wasn't a lie, but the fact of the matter is that you went after Pon-chan when she was already in a moment of weakness because things weren't going so well with her long-distance boyfriend. Tosuke put his hands on his face, head hung, saying nothing. Perhaps there was nothing that he could say in reply to this. Tosuke was my friend, but when something was wrong, I had to speak about it. I don't think this is related to this, or as related. After a while of no reply, whether as a means of raising the white flag or simply because he could no longer bear the tension, Tosuke suddenly smiled, still looking down at the floor. Well, yeah, you're right. He covered his face with his hands as if to hide his embarrassment. But, well, didn't you say it yourself just earlier, Kaede? That sometimes these things happen? His joking words put me at ease. I did say that, but it was wrong. Tosuke laughed again. I laughed as well. There's no way it's ending like this. What the hell was this exchange? I'm sorry. I read this exactly what I was... This is basically what I was thinking. Right when I said there's no way it's gonna end like this. Okay, I'm sorry. I was right. This is so dumb. There's no way they're like, you know what? I was wrong. You were right, Kaede. This is my honest reaction. Tosuke laughed. Or like this sentence is my honest reaction. Tosuke laughed again. I laughed as hell. What the hell was this exchange we were having? We had shared trivial debates countless times in the years we had known each other. Every time, at some point, one or the other of us would erupt with laughter, and wonder what we were being so serious for, able to preserve our relationship with a smile. I was relieved to know that this was just one or more of those exchanges. This is BS. I hate this. I hate this development. What I needed was for him to understand more clearly what I felt about Moai without misleading. But I was sure that Tosuke would come to comprehend this in time. As I thought about it, Tosuke turned back to the PC and plugged a USB stick that had been sitting on the desk into the machine. Before I could figure out what he was doing, he pulled his stick out and curiously turned back to me. I'm sorry, Kaede. Huh? I'm out. Let's go! Never mind. He's still in it. He's still sane. There was still a faint smile on his face. Sorry that I said I could help. Over these last few months though, I've come to realize that maybe Moai isn't so bad. So for now, this is where I get off. He looked down, not rising from his chair. I'm sorry for egging you on. The USB stick he held out to me, and the whirl of Tosuke's hair. I timidly accepted the USB stick from him, feeling that they were a set pair, and that if one of or the other was not lost, they both would remain there forever. Still, I don't blame you for being upset, he said. So then, the way you're going about this just bothers me. I'm sorry. His smile was stiff. I put the memory stick into my pocket and took a step back. My philosophy was never to get close to others, to avoid defying their opinions as best as I could. Can you bring that up now? Oh right, could you please try to keep getting along with Pon? I know she's a pretty different person from you, but she's a good kid. Though she is a bit sneaky, and is a little too good at pretending to be asleep. Seems she knows more than we thought, Tosuke's laughter implied. I took another step backwards. Oh, they're talking about the time at the izakaya while they were drinking, and she was pretending to be asleep, I guess. Why don't you try talking a bit more with Ten too? I'm sure that in terms of Moai, you consider him your enemy, but it might be a little different if you think of him as your schoolmate, Amano. I took yet another step back, putting more distance between us. And then, maybe even their leader, Hiro. What was her real name again? I'm pretty sure I heard it at the meetup. I don't want to say. I was like, there's no way. Already seeming resolved to our parting, Tosuke, cool as ever, looked up to the ceiling, as though he was merely having trouble swallowing something bitter. All right, Akiyoshi. Man. Wait, I want to say my thoughts after I finish this. Tosuke looked me in the eye. It had been a long time since I had heard anyone speak that name. I'm sure if you just sit down and talk to Akiyoshi, you'll find out she's a good person too. I turned my back on him, wobbled to the front door and put my shoes on. As I opened the door and stepped outside, I heard my one short phrase from Tosuke, but I had nothing to say in reply and simply closed the door behind me. Come back anytime. Just like the scent that Poncha left behind, I knew that before long, even those words would fade into nothing. Oh my gosh. Kaede is so cringe. He actually did it. He actually said that she is no longer in this world. When she's still in this world. Man. Honestly, this is a much interesting direction for the story. But still, he's just a bit extra. Oh my lord. Alright. I'll read at least 10 more pages and I'm gonna see if there's a good stopping point. Aren't worried. Wait, no, holy heck, never mind. Oh no, never mind, there's still time. Probably further. I guess the title of the book fits him. I'm blue in pain and fragile. Fragile maybe. I am blue, maybe, yeah. I just don't think he realizes it. He just thinks he's in the right. And I just can't accept that other people like change, I guess. I don't know. I'll go back to the point where he crossed her in the street. Okay, sure. Yeah, now that we know that it's her. Okay, where was that? It was like page at like 100 something, right? Or is that like later on? I don't remember where it was exactly. Okay, no, it definitely wasn't there. It was before then. Oh, here. Once more, I put my first confidence, it would look more rad to me. She knew who. Okay. She was the one. There was some reason behind me, blah blah blah. Once more, I put my first confidence, it was. My students starts interrupting them. When look back for her, you keep standing there. She knew who I was after all. I wrenched myself from my fixation on Hero and dragged my feet away. Oh yeah, he was like. Yeah, he was just like so shook, catching a glance of her. I didn't know for. Yeah. The page before it, this was real hatred. Oh, this is true hatred. Oh my. Someone's walking around the hallway. Okay, now we're good. Oh yeah, it is Torrid's hero. Man. And now especially knowing this is Akiyoshi. Man, Kaede sucks. Yo, this is like as bad as that one time I played the Chain Echoes and I'm like, man, we suck. Okay. Well, I'm shook. And I should have used a bookmark because I don't remember where we're at now. Oh, we're here. I'm returned. Welcome back, Brooke. Okay, this story interesting, but I did not expect it to be Two young people in their first year, I guess this makes a little bit more sense, but still, what the heck? It was the third member of Moai, Tazunoki, who had given Akiyoshi, the one and only leader of Moai, the nickname Hiro. The three of us had been talking when we got on the subject of an RPG that had been popular at the time. I wouldn't say you're a brave warrior, Hisano, as much as a hero. Normally, when Tazunoki said something like that, we'd understood that she was talking about what role we'd play in a video game, and we'd be embarrassed, humbled, or would just laugh it off. Akiyoshi, however, gave no such banal reply. I'm no hero. It was then that Tazunoki, who seemed to be very fond of such grand statements as believing in the future and hope, began to somewhat teasingly refer to Akiyoshi as hero. What happened from there was rather idiotic. As the group's membership increased, one of the new members overheard this and, not realizing it was a joke, came to believe that Akiyoshi's name was actually Hiro. This little episode unfortunately stuck, and by everyone came to recognize Akiyoshi as Hiro. But she did not seem altogether displeased by it, perhaps given its origin, though I myself never referred to her in that way. By now, Tazunoki, who inflicted this strange mark upon Akiyoshi, was a fourth year as well. Her own path had diverged from Moai, and she was relishing her university life. I believe she was presently in the US on a research exchange, or at least she should have been, according to the plan she had told me about what we happened to cross paths at one point in the middle of our third year. Was the passion fruit stuff good? Oh no, I ate, oh no, I did eat passion. No, I ate mango. I didn't try the passion fruit, but I did try the passion fruit, I just didn't try it today. But yeah, all the mochi tastes good to me. Lychee or mango might be my favorite though. Middle of our third year. Now that I think about it, she had asked me to deliver a message to Akiyoshi, though I never did. I think it was, tell her I hope she's doing well. I wonder if, deep down, she knew that message would never be conveyed. I think she had that way about her. There was no way I would convey that message. The last time I'd spoken to Akiyoshi had been the start of our sophomore year. It was the day I had made up my mind and said farewell to the new Moai and the new Akiyoshi. I had laid a whole plan for how I had intended to inform them of my decision, but it had never come to fruition. The timing was accidental. It was one of the rare times that we had actually bumped into one another on campus. I had been en route from the bike racks to my lecture hall, and the sky was disgustingly clear. Skibbity bop. Shakira, what's up? It's en route. Thanks, Wonder. I can always count on you. Where were we? After a brief, perplexed, Akiyoshi forced a smile that felt so natural, it was almost unnatural, and walked up to me with a, hey there. Hey. Long time no see, huh? What have you been up to? I've been coming back to school. I have no idea how the tone of my voice sounded to Akiyoshi, but she stopped a half step away from me. Still, she seemed to have no intention of dropping her crafted smile. Wait. I wonder if this is just Kaede in his mind, just thinking Akiyoshi just faking everything. You have class after this, Kaede? Yep. Where? Building B. Oh, me too. She turned and started walking ahead. I followed beside her, maintaining the same distance. I wonder how we would have looked to others. Even if someone mistook us for close friends, it would be clear we were not lovers. There was an excess of emotion between us. It was Akiyoshi who spoke up first. So, Kaede. Oh, he might be giga cringe. After realizing that Akiyoshi's still alive, I already think he's giga cringe. Yeah? You haven't been coming to Moai lately. This much was true, so I merely replied, uh-huh. If you don't like the way things are going right now, we could change it a bit more. Oh no, Akiyoshi's even offering. Man, you don't have to do anything for us to do this. Whatever I told her, it would not have mattered. You're just... Fuck, I wanna stop commenting on this. So I merely replied, it's... whatever. I see. She fell silent. Unlike me, Akiyoshi was someone who hated silence, so the words that she said next were probably meaningless, just a means to mend the situation. It's more fun with everyone around. I believe that was the final straw for me. Hey. So, I looked at Akiyoshi, who was peering at the ground beside me, and spoke my intention clearly. I'm quitting Moai. Is this the same dude that's told Tosi that he got pushed out of Moai? Is this the same guy? There's no character development. She looked at me. For the first time in some minutes, I remember her face in that moment. It was a mix of shock and sadness, and perhaps even a hint of anger. I say that jokingly. I'm not. I'm kidding. Well, actually... I don't think I'm kidding. But maybe there will be. Why? Both that expression and that voice were all Akiyoshi. But I knew that the girl standing before me was no longer the Akiyoshi I had first met. She was just a plain, boring university student who had abandoned all her ideals. I'm sure that some people would think it's terrible of me to say this, but what had happened to Moai after that proved me right. That group continued to engorge itself, reaching its arms across the university as though it owned the place. All that Akiyoshi had once strived for had vanished. Are Akiyoshi Moai? Yeah, but like, not in a healthy way at all. And he could have just communicated that with Akiyoshi, just saying. Moai, the secret society, was gone. With more whimper than bang, those fragile ideals had shattered. I was disappointed in Moai and no longer turned my gaze to them. Deep down, however, I think I still believed that one day Akiyoshi would take back her old ideals and her old self. Go back to that time where it mattered not how others judged or criticized her, and return Moai to what it once was. But now, 3 years later, it still had not happened. I had to do my part and carry on the will of the real Moai, the one that still cared about ideals. For the sake of all this, of all that this twisted Moai had destroyed, for the sake of mine and Akiyoshi's old selves, the current Moai could not be permitted to continue to exist. I could not leave this twisted Akiyoshi as she was. This could not be. Of this, I was certain. Akiyoshi became cringe? Did she? I think she just... I mean, she definitely changed than how she used to be, which is like, you know, interrupting class or whatever. And talking about, you know, ideals, like these whatever questions or whatever, and just chasing her dreams and all that stuff. And now she's more realistic. She matured. In a sense. But like turning that change into hatred is crazy for the main character. Actually, I think the gap between who she used to be and who she became is cringe. Okay, that makes more. Yeah, I can. That's a good way to put it too. That's a really good way to put it. Cause she changed a lot. Like, are you? Is like, who's the real you? Or like, would I even know you? They're so different now. But again, it could also just be the main character's fault for not even like. There's a lot can happen in like a year or two, and he just didn't show up to Moai slowly. He just slowly just never show up to Moai again, and maybe there was a lot of development that we just didn't know because the main character just didn't care or didn't really put any effort into attending or continuing to maintain relations with Akiyoshi. But if he cared so much, he should have talked or communicated with Akiyoshi. Definitely not faultless. To me, I don't think Akiyoshi is fault, or I don't think Akiyoshi is at fault for like 90%. She's not at fault, in my opinion. Akiyoshi was just doing her own thing. From this perspective, at least, she's just doing her own thing, and yes, she's different from how the main character assumed she was, and that's fine. Like, you know, people change, friends change, and you know, if you don't vibe with them anymore, you just separate. I just think the fact that the main character transferred or transformed that into hatred instead of just moving on is insane. which could have been solved, I think, with better communication. No stuff caused MC to change for the better. Yeah, in the beginning, he was very like, you know, closed in and just had this like philosophy or whatever. But he started to break them more and more, right? As she like forced herself upon him by being so overbearing. And arguably, like I think that is a good change for the MC. But like, she can't be like responsible for his development the entire time though. 10% that's her fault. Even then, I can't blame her. I don't think she's even at fault at all. To be fair though, I think you could argue that she should have like, communicated better with the main character. Like when she knows that like he's different now, or like he's not attending anymore, to actually reach out to him and talk to him. But again, that's not her responsibility. Especially with the fact that, you know, she's like running that club and everything, and she did reach out multiple times and reminded Tosuke, the main character, that, you know, if it's not how you like it, we would just have it just be us, or if you don't like it, then we can just change a bit. Say something, like talk it out. But the main character is just like, whatever. That's cool. Oh, wait, Luffy, what's the thing next to the book? It's a pancake bushin. It's a pancake cat. Very cute. I actually went to Faye's chat to ask them to vote for which one would be better. And that one won. Friday was the only thing that made her outfits in class not cringe. True. It's cute. It's very cute. Alright, enough discussion. Good discussion though. But let's continue. Like honestly, there could be just another twist, or just watching the main character actually redeem themselves at the end of the book. Like I think it can go like both ways. I mean, obviously it can go both ways. Like either the MC redeems himself at the end of the book and turns a new leaf, or just ends on a bad note. And I just hope it does not end on a bad note. That would suck. I would feel so bad for a main character. I believed Tosuke to be my friend, but the weight of his sudden betrayal had hung heavily on my shoulders ever since I left his apartment. I believe in a good ending? Oh no. I want to eat your pancreas? Ugh. He had been the one to propose all this. He had talked about how much he hated Moai. I returned home alone and practically threw myself into my empty desk chair, not even bothering to wash my hands. I immediately turned on my computer and plugged in the USB stick on the drive I found. Other than corporate shared register for resistance, several files that Tosuke had forgotten to delete. I opened them to find a resume. That he had probably prepared for some class presentation, along with other things I could not make heads or tails of, lacking the requisite specialized knowledge. They were irrelevant to me. so I deleted everything I did not need. Given that he had abandoned these files, I assumed that he no longer needed them. Man, that's very inconsiderate. When I opened the register again, I was shocked at the sheer number of people who were included in it. Had these all been collected through events like that barbecue? I felt like it would be a lot more efficient to just go through everyone who attended their meetups. It was a shared file, so the password for viewing had been the date of Moai's founding, which meant that it had been Akiyoshi who had set it. It was not just the date when Moai was first recognized by university, it was the day when the two of us, just Akiyoshi and I, had come up with the name Moai, which meant that, naturally, Akiyoshi was aware of this list as well. The question was, to what extent was Akiyoshi controlling this? If and when this turned into a public matter, and if the group's leader was proven to be calling the shots, it would become all the more perilous for Moai. The head of a job hunting group at a respected university was gathering and distributing people's personal information to corporations without permission. That was sure to get the young people and those with a distaste for academia fired up. Come to think of it, whoever it was that was spearheading this effort, what exactly was Moai getting in exchange for giving this out to corporations? Operating funds? I was sure they had official sponsors though. It had to be for strengthening ties to those companies then, or at least to give their members preferential treatment at interviews? Whatever. I could just leave a question mark on that one, and others would come flooding in with malice to fill in the rest. That was how internet rumors had, and virtual lynch mobs were formed. Now that I was on my own, there was nothing that I would accomplish by just sitting around thinking. I immediately converted both the register and the email from that HR rep into image files, adding them into an easy-to-post format. It was not a difficult task. There are skills I had picked up in my university classes, so it was easily done. With this, the bomb was now complete. Now I had to just plant it online and pray that it exploded. I took a breath and thought about what Tosuke had said. Speaking honestly, I could not say that I felt no guilt over this. However, my guilt was only in regard to those who were caught up in Moai, who were not calling the shots in the way that Akiyoshi and Ten and the others were. What the present Moai was doing was wrong. However, like Tosuke said, there must have been people who had chosen Moai as a place of salvation, of acceptance, such as Kawahara-san. For the sake of people like her, it was not enough to simply hope for the destruction or atrophy of Moai. Atrophy? Atrophy? Atrophy of Moai. There was more than that. It needed to go beyond, to a future that denounced the Moai of a present and returned to its origins, a place seeking only ideals. Sans Undertale judgment moment. Wait, I'm sorry. Wait, that's so funny. It's like, that's his canon event. But instead of that, that's his Sans Undertale judgment moment? What the? I've never heard of that. I want to start using that. Like, whenever someone starts self-reflecting, if I could make a place like that, I was sure there would be a place for Kawahara-san there. And there might even be a place for me. Yeah, let's go, bro. There was no need for a present Moai there. I loaded the edited images into Tosuke's USB stick, ejected it from the computer, and placed it in my pocket. For the sake of caution, I had deployed a bomb from somewhere else. What Akiyoshi had once made into a lie, I'll return to the truth. Not only had the flames inside me not burned out, but now that I was on my own, they burned stronger still, like pushing the first tile in a row of crooked dominoes. I opened the door and stepped outside. When I opened the back door of the drugstore building and stepped inside, giving in, evening, in what could only barely be qualified as a greeting. I found Kawahara-san huddled on a stool, her knees to her cheeks, staring at her phone screen. Her eyes were open wide, brows furrowed in such a way that I could almost hear them creaking. I had never seen a look that was on her face before, but I knew what it meant. I had never seen a look like that on her face before, but I knew what it meant. She was livid. I crept along as closely as I could to the edges of the locker room, careful to avoid the spear of her anger. Returning a resigned "yo" to the howdy I finally heard, there was a clear rage in the eye that glanced my way. I would be far too idiotic to ask, did something happen? Wait, it didn't say he deployed the bomb yet, right? Yeah, it didn't explicitly mention whether he did it yet or not. So I refrained. You'd have to live under a rock or be a total eccentric to now know about what had happened at our own school that had gotten Kawahara-san so angry. To not know, I assume. To not know. Yeah, I was neither, so I chose words appropriate to neither. It's pretty bad, huh? Yeah, I can't. Unsure of how to put her own thoughts into words, she just clicked her tongue loudly. It had been a while since I'd seen the Miss Yankee side of her slip out. I thought as she slid her phone into her pockets and bowed her head at me. Apologies. I mean, I don't really know what's going on, but it does seem like a pretty big deal. Big deal? Honestly, really pisses me off. I'm sure that, given the time, Kawahara-san would have ranted to me about all the absurdities of the world then and there. But unfortunately, it was time for our shift to start. Time flew by. After a while of working, I, as usual, found myself with too much time on my hands. As I constructed a crude sign while minding the register, Kawahara-san came by with the mop. Mind if I gripe for a bit? Straight to the point as ever. I'm sorry, if I'm reading too fast now, it's because I really want to know what's gonna happen. So I'm reading a bit faster than usual. It's because I'm impatient right now. Wait, let me check the time. And I should be impatient. I should be ending stream, or I should start to end stream in 15 minutes. Yeah, thanks, bro. Straight to the point as ever. What's up? She huffed through her nose, as if releasing the air from her own anger-swollen head. That's me right now. Wonder, why are there so many garbage people in this world who laugh at the misfortune of strangers? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he deployed the bomb. I have no idea. Neither do I. And with that, the conversation was over. Even with such a brief exchange though, I knew precisely what she was talking about. And how it was that she had come to be angry at such people in particular. However, I had too deftly fashioned myself as an outsider. It was fine for her not to see me like that. If you don't make a habit of that sort of thing, you fall apart when things come down the wire. To the wire. Normally, the only conversation we would need to share would be a few parting words on her way home. However, there was something I wished to ask her. When our shift was over, just before we left, I, as always, exited the locker room slightly after Kawahara-san, catching up with her as she climbed atop her scooter. Hey, Kawahara-san? Started. Before she could say her farewells, perhaps because I had never done this before, she closed her half-open mouth and looked at me in surprise. I was clumsy at launching right into any topic, so I dithered a bit to cushion the blow. Please don't worry too much over this. It's gotta be bad for her health. As if proof that I had made the right choice in expressing concern for her, her mouth softened and she bowed her head with a thanks, and then, I'm okay now. I know it's not my place to ask as an outsider, but what do you think will happen to Moai? Are you actually worried about that? Thought you weren't interested in them. Well, I mean, it's just, I was the one who told you about Moai. I had already prepared that response, along with the joking tone I delivered it with. Kawahara-san laughed. This guy's more fake than what he frames Akiyoshi-san as. Honestly, I wonder. Right now, the head guys are all running around apologizing and making all the necessary excuses to people. And they haven't been upfront about who's to blame for this and stuff like that. But the senpai is saying that they probably have some plan for dealing with this. So you're kind of just wanting to see how things will go? A leader has got some upcoming debrief she's giving the members, but there's so many of us that's going to be hard finding a place to hold it. It'd have to be one of the halls if it's on campus, pretty much. It would probably seem suspicious of me to press any further, so I just said sincerely, I hope this goes in some way that'll let you rest easy. Thanks. Well, I guess whatever happens, happens. Sorry for keeping you. Nah, it's honestly just a relief to have someone who's not total trash care about me. Good night then. That's why he takes 9%. You know what? Change it to 99%. With that, she dashed off, a smile on her face. Yo, he does not deserve Kawahara-san if they ever end up together. Good night, she had said it this time, instead of see you. This little exchange aside, I was grateful to Kawahara-san for being such an unwittingly good spy. Oh my god, he's still thinking like this. With her help, I was able to keep abreast of the upcoming activities and current vibe within Moai, all from the outside. So far, it did not seem like that they had come to any conclusions that would be conveyed to the full Moai membership, but I did know that at least there was going to be a debriefing for the members. It was a good sign that Moai's upper management seemed like it was trying to stand up and take responsibility for the incident, rather than brushing it aside in silence. Kawahara-san might have been livid now, but one day she would see that this was a turn for the better. It was in service of that this was a good sign. By the incident, I was, of course, referring to the scandal. Moai is distributing students' contact information to outside businesses without their consent. Presently, I could certainly feel that there was some backlash happening, but at the same time, it was already at a point where things were out of my hands, and I was beginning to fill with a sense of dread. It had been 3 weeks. The bomb that I had planted had already gone off more quickly. Wait, so I'm listening? Is there a ton of cheating going on? Wait, let me see when there's a good stopping point. Okay, I think I'll stop at 2:14, because there's like a stop there. Alright, if you're still here, Fade, when I stop, I'll explain it to you, Fade. Did they tell you? I guess they tell you he did it indirectly at first, yeah. Exactly. Oh, there was one. Okay, yes, there actually is one cheating. Okay. Upon having planted, I had posted those images to a number of social networks and online message boards. At first, I worried that I was worried they might simply vanish into the sea of online postings without anyone taking much notice. But that worry swiftly vanished itself. It was the social network where it blew up in the earliest, most obvious way. Someone who saw the posting told someone else who was unaware of it about it. Then that someone told someone else, and then reached some radical account with tons of followers, from where it exploded all at once. Oh, my voice is so dead now. An inciting incident which then set the message boards all alight. I started seeing articles from web news outlets aggregating the various threads as well. The images were proliferated endlessly, and whether or not they were real accounts, more and more people who claimed to have been burned by Moai in the past began to appear. Mess them up, I bet? I hope. Feeling the notion that this was not just an isolated incident, and that Moai had been this sort of organization from the start. As a matter of course, eventually people began asking Moai, the university, and even the company that had emailed me to comment directly on the matter. Some of them actually called or sent emails asking whether this was true or not. However, it did not seem that any of them received any meaningful reply, and at that point, even Kawahara-san was only aware that there was something going on. Just when it seemed things were dying down, however, there was a secondary explosion. A weekly publication that was probably in need of a story sniffed out the commotion online and wrote an article, a bit a small one, about Moai. Reading the article, they appeared more concerned about the fact that they so shamelessly accepted this information from students, more than the fact that it was Moai that had done it. I have no idea where they sourced their information, but they had recorded proof in the form of comments from related parties that Moai members were receiving preferential treatment at interviews. I believe that the reason that people who only learned of this scandal through the article began to argue online that both Moai and the corporations were evil was probably because they believed it was the latter who was originally to blame. Humans truly are strange creatures, unable to abide the idea that someone else might be benefiting more than they are. Moai truly was becoming fodder for people who, as Kawahara-san complained, enjoyed laughing at other people's misfortune. I mean, the idea that they are giving preferential treatment to applicants is kinda scummy, to be fair. But the main character's reasons and intentions are crazy. Once again, this had far surpassed anything I had imagined. Sorry for non-members. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you say it like that, but if I was given the opportunity for something like that, then just like the cheating. Oh, don't say it like that. Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know enough about the cheating thing to comment on it, or know enough about relationships. But yeah, that's a big goofers. I mean it's cool because not everything is just like there's not a good a good dude or a bad dude, or like good side or a bad side. Everyone's just like whack. Or I guess the right term is everyone's like morally gray. Once again, this had far surpassed anything I imagined. I never imagined that actual news outlets would report on this. The fact that real adults would be baited in this easily was proof that there was little difference in interest and motivation between us and those not far removed from us in age. After Kawahara-san left, I quietly rode my bike home in solitude. I had not seen Tosuke since that day, nor Ponchan, obviously. I wanted so badly to ask the two of them how they felt about all this, but I doubted I would get the chance to. There was nothing that I could do about it at this point. I picked up some half-price bento from the supermarket without much incident, washed my hands and gargled, then immediately turned on my computer. The bento would have gotten soggy if I heated it up, so I ate it cold. I opened my social media and, through my original, still clean account, did a search on Moai. More and more Moai haters were appearing by the day. Online, there was vitriol and derision? Derision? And just looking at it was enough to put me in a hypnotic state. My mind swam, my heart rate rose, and I began to feel nauseated. Vitriol? Vitriol? Can you confirm that, Wonder? Wonder. Beep beep. Are you there? Beep beep. Can you confirm that? Beep beep. Not quite. Vitri. There's vitri? Vitriol. Vitriol. Okay, I see vitriol. Thanks, Wander. You're the best. I can always rely on you. I hate you. Sorry, thanks, Bane. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm betting. No! Leave Wander alone! Please. Even Wander knows. Even Wander knows that he's being set up for failure. Alright. Are we? There were some defenders too, as well as the general consensus that all universities and corporations these days were doing things like this. But even that was drowned out again by the haters within a single scroll. Moai had gone from being just another obscure organization to a source of entertainment. I, too, was participating in this circus of questioning society. Just this morning, I released another bit of bait out into the world. The effects could be felt everywhere. Oh, get wrecked, Fade. Alright. I mean, I'm gonna... Oh no, it's gonna take me 3 pages. Yeah, never mind. I'll go and Fade. But the thing about cheating, Fade? No. The main character basically posted... Basically, he wrote hate. He started like a wave of hate on social media, and then his friend got mad over it, and then the main character was like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I hope things will get better soon." And then his friend was like, "Thanks, main character. I'm glad that you care about me," even though he was the one who started the wave of hate in the first place. So that's what happened when you were asking, is there cheating going on? So he was just, yeah. Yeah. But kind of awkward. Fake out, yeah. Anyways, go away, Fade. Imagine actually sleeping early. Cough early. So I'm like, no wonder, sorry. This was my way of keeping the game close at hand, as I was reluctant to let things grow so big that they might expand to a place beyond my reach. That said, I did not do anything especially new and fresh. I screenshot an email from a different company than the one I had originally edited into the image set and posted it from an internet cafe. This posting had only one image and was a bit bland, so I appended a bit of text to the image as well. What are ideals? A question of righteousness. At first, I considered just leaving it there, but in a fit of emotions, my fingers moved a little longer. What are the values of those who would so brashly approach others, selfishly affirming or denying them, who so brashly? That was the end of the post. There was a bit of irony in there as well, directed toward Tosuke and Ponchan. Oof. Oof. Kinda, I think it's like sliding Tosuke for egging the main character on and then like saying, nope, I'm out. Once more, the self-styled heroes of the internet ran wild with this new image. Dang, he's acting like a martyr out here, what the heck? I assumed that this image would reach Akiyoshi at some point. I hope it might help her have a change of heart. I hoped it would cause her some regret. I began peeking through a number of her socials to see if there weren't any signs of sad reflection of her socials. Oh wait, no, I read that again. To see if there weren't any signs yet of said reflection or regret. He's parasocial. He's parasocial to someone he knows IRL. That was a friend. However, she had not posted anything in some days. All that I came across were boring updates on recent meetups and other trivial nonsense. Yeah, Tosuke kind of the same to MC as Akiyoshi. Oh, wait, put it like that? To be fair though, in Akiyoshi's case, yes, she needed him to make the club and as a friend or whatever, but like, he was never pressured to like, you know, stay in the club, to be friends. I mean, he was pressured to be, I guess you can say pressured to be friends with. No, no, he still wasn't really pressured to be friends with Akiyoshi. He just decided to be friends with her because it would go against his ideals otherwise. He never said like, yo, please don't talk to me, I hate you, or whatever. No, he just let things flow because that was his philosophy. And he just never communicated well with Akiyoshi. Tosuke though, it's true, but also like, actually getting to know them and talking to them, causing him to have a change of heart is like, makes sense too. Or is also something. His ideals made him a pushover. Made him a pushover. Oh, for Akiyoshi, yeah. Cause he just didn't want to like, you know, cause any conflict. Pushing fork for pushing pancake. Oh, no, leave the pancake alone. Yeah, it sucks. That is so, I don't know. Like, they're not like he's not entitled to them supporting him in the way he likes it. I don't know. It's really weird. Or it's really tough. They have like their own wrongs and their own ways, but in my opinion, I think the main character is just like crazy in terms of like his motivation and intentions. Do we know how Kaiji feels currently? I don't think we do at all. But considering like that flashback, like right before he decided to quit for real, telling her that, I feel like it was presented because it was written in such an exaggerated way, I feel like the main character was just making this like, was just like fabricating like this false persona onto Akiyoshi, saying that she's like faking the smile, faking everything. He's just clouded. But I'm not sure. Unreliable narrator, yeah, is what I think. Granted, it could not be reliable. I don't know. Yeah, Tosuke still seems fun. Like Tosuke still wanted it to work out, but like felt like what he was doing was wrong, or how he was going about it. I feel like his intentions or motivation was wrong. Yeah. But I don't feel like the preferential treatment to Moai members and stuff. It kind of. But yeah. But no, I think it makes sense why he felt like he got wronged. Yeah. But I also feel like it's not their fault either, because how do they? It's not Tosuke or Akiyoshi's fault either, really, because how would they know he has these whack philosophies? They pushed it, yeah. It's hard. What the heck? After 160 pages of the story, like I just realized how like how much more interesting the story is, or the story became so much more interesting, or the characters. That's crazy. Like before 150 pages, I'm like, man, let's just go. What the heck is this story about? But wow, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I don't know where I was. How was she not posting anything some days? Okay, maybe it would take a little more time, a little more of an explosion. As I pondered this, continuing to enter Moai into search bars and scrolling. I saw it. How much are there? Around 300. So, I'm gonna end it really soon though. I thought I was just seeing things when I first scrolled past it. However, when I moved the scroll bar back up, I realized frivolously that my kinetic vision was less useless than I imagined it to be. I stared, amazed. Beyond my reach, there in the cyber sea, was an image. There was no mistaking it. It was a picture of Akiyoshi and Ten. And they hate each other, right? It was probably taken in the middle of some rap party. Both were smiling broadly, raising their glasses toward the camera. They appeared to be quite friendly with one another. Wow, friendly. I assumed this was some recent event. Akiyoshi's hair was a fair bit shorter than in the old photo I had, and she seemed to be wearing makeup and some casual dress more akin. Wait, this reminds me of the scene in the beginning where he's drinking and where he got like a position at the job and he was drinking and talking to the picture of Akiyoshi alone in his room. Man's cuckoo crazy. And she seemed to be wearing makeup and some casual dress more akin to how I had seen her on the day of the mixer. At first, I assumed this had been posted up by some hapless Moai member who was unaware of what was going on, but that was not the case. The account seemed to be a burner, having posted up only 2 other pieces of information beside the photo. I don't think I remember that. We can go back to it real quick later. Those 2 pieces of information were both phone numbers. It was only like 2 lines, I think. Were both phone numbers. One of the 2 seemed familiar to me. I frantically checked my phone contacts. As I expected, one of them was Akiyoshi's phone number. Unused in ages, but still recorded in my phone, which meant I could assume that the other one was Ten's. I had assumed that Akiyoshi would have changed her number by now, while I was taken aback by the fact that this meant I could still have a conversation with her anytime I wanted. It also meant things seemed like they were starting to progress in a direction I had never intended. I never thought that anyone would be this unscrupulous. Momentarily, it occurred to me that perhaps I ought to take a step back from fanning the flames of the scandal until I saw that the image had already been shared around, which meant that it was beyond my power to stop it. Once more, I looked at the photo of the 2 of them. Those smiles were built on fraudulent actions, hurting others and abandoning their values. I don't know if it did of my own free will, or if I was merely swept up in the will of the masses, but I decided to lend a hand in spreading that image of information. It was not my fault that things had come this far. Moai was wicked enough to warrant this criticism. The moment I realized this, my clicking finger moved with the lightest of motions.